friends, Heidi here from Rain Country. God is good all the time. And I'm here for another FAQ that I've been getting a lot lately, and that is about using herbs medicinally. Is it best to use them dried or to use them fresh? Well, a lot of it's going to depend on the herb itself. For example, elderberries are not best for you when they're picked fresh and used because they can be hard on the gut and does have a slight toxicity level, especially if you're talking red elderberries. Black elderberries are safer and are better because the color means they're higher in antioxidants, but those should be dried and or cooked, and the same will apply to many other herbs. Some are going to be better if you dry them first or cook them in some way, and wild lettuce is one of those. It should be cooked down before using rather than eating fresh. Though some people can handle it, some people cannot. Then one of the other things you have to consider is what time of the year it is. Obviously, if it's middle of winter and you need a pain remedy, you can't go out in your garden and pick fresh catnip and feverfew like I do during the times that those are growing to help curb a headache and other types of pain. So having some dried herbs on hand to either make a tea, which you really don't want to do with feverfew because it's very bitter, or making an extract is very important to get you through the full year. And the same applies to like nasturtium leaves. I like using nasturtium leaves. There's many great natural antibiotics out there. Nasturtium leaves are just my personal favorite. I have a whole list of natural antibiotics that I'll link to down below. In fact, instead of linking to that individual video, I'll link to the lists of things that pertain to particular ailments. So I have one just on pain, one for stress and anxiety, one for helping promote hair growth, and there's some more out there, and I'll have more coming. But anyway, nasturtium leaves are my favorite, but they're not the only herb. But when these are growing fresh, I've got them coming in fresh like I do at the moment I'm shooting this video, and I feel like there's a possibility I might need a little bit of an antibiotic or just any kind of boost to my system, I'm going to eat the leaf fresh. So let's say you're growing nasturtiums and those leaves are coming in fresh and you've got an infection of some sort, or you suspect you have an infection. Eat 1 or 2 leaves every hour until that clears up. But if it's in the middle of winter, you're not going to have fresh nasturtium leaves to go out there and pick and take care of that. So having dried ones on hand is very important. So then that brings me to the next question about making an extract. Can you make an extract out of fresh herbs rather than dried? Yes, you can, but it's going to depend on how you make it. So a high proof alcohol when you're using fresh herbs is going to be the best way to extract and preserve that for a longer period of time than using any other kinds of means. Yes, I can pick these fresh, I can put them in a jar, but in that case I will use a high proof alcohol if I'm going to do fresh herbs. So you have to remember, these things all have a moisture content in them. So as such, that's going to water down the extract when you're using the fresh herbs. Now, yes, fresh herbs, generally speaking, are going to be higher in certain nutrients and benefits than the dried herbs, but then again, in its dried form, it's more condensed. So that means then when you go to make the extract out of it, you can get a stronger extract, and thus you can also reduce the alcohol content when you go to make that extract. So if you're wanting to make an extract for someone who can't have alcohol, be they children or someone who just can't have alcohol, period, then you can use honey and water. The honey is going to preserve it really well, but you're also going to get a stronger extract, generally speaking, using the dried herbs rather than using the fresh herbs. You're just going to get a better result that way. So it really depends on the herb, the solvent you're using, and the time of the year. So these are the things that are all going to come into play. Now in the summertime, same thing goes when I'm making teas, also known as infusions when you're talking herbs. Whenever I have herbs coming in fresh, like my favorite throughout the summer normally is peppermint, but I really got hooked on the fresh thyme tea. I like to use fresh thyme when I'm making the tea, and I'll just pick it straight from the garden, put it in the pot, and brew my tea. but it's going to take up more volume in the teapot than if I was using dried. But when it comes to thyme tea, I find the flavor is best when I'm using fresh. Peppermint, I can use fresh or dried and I can get the same flavor. But yes, when it's coming in fresh, I use it fresh for making teas. Any of the herbs I'm gonna make teas out of, as long as it's available for me to pick straight from the garden, I'll make tea out of it. Then the rest of the year, if I'm gonna use it in a tea, I'm using my dried herbs that I put up to get me through that time of the year when it's not coming in fresh. So that's your teas. Now let's talk about oil infusions. When it comes to oil infusions, a couple things that I just brought out for examples that I'm going to use in my oil infusions will be my honeysuckle flowers or my calendula flowers, plantain leaves, yarrow leaves, dandelion flowers, and much more for making infused oils for various things. When it comes to oils, yes, you must use dried herbs. You don't want any moisture content in that oil when you're infusing it. That's where you're more likely to have issues with botulism, which again, I don't always let the botulism thing scare me away from a bunch of stuff, but we still want to play it safe. So when it comes to infusing oils, use dried garlic, not fresh. Use dried oregano, not fresh, and so on and so forth. Your dried herbs are going to be best. And again, you're also more likely to get a stronger solution, a stronger oil when you're using the dried. So I hope I answered all the questions in reference to fresh or dried. They all have their place. They both have their benefits, and it just depends on how and when you're using it. All right, well, I hope you enjoyed this video, and don't forget to check out the playlist I'll be putting down below. And if I have any other ideas of some videos I think you might be interested in, I'll put those in the description box as well. Don't forget to click on either show more right down here below my channel name, or that little triangle right here if you're on a smart device to open up the description box to see everything we have in there. All right, well, thanks for watching. Take care and God bless.